All right, I'm here with Flora, who is a little bit frustrated. I'm not delivering treats into her mouth as quickly as possible. Flora has a problem with the kennel. Now, she will go in the kennel without any issues. It's when her guardians are getting ready to leave that she has a problem with the kennel. Now, the kennel, for a lot of dogs, represents two things. Number one, igloo. Number one, I'm being restrained and enclosed in the kennel. Number two, I'm only put in the kennel when my guardians leave me. Now, for dogs that have separation anxiety, the big problem is they go from 100% access to their humans to zero. Because I'm with you totally, I sleep in the room with you, and then suddenly I go to work, and I'm by myself. Let's not steal the tape. All right, so we need to help the dog practice being in the kennel. Now, if your dog is really reticent to go in the kennel, when it goes in, it'll like lean far and won't want to put its paws in there. As you can see for her, she isn't having a problem. Igloo. Now, you want to come up with a word for your dog's kennel. If you've been kennel training your dog, you've been saying kennel or kennel up, and your dog hates the kennel, change the word. Get rid of the baggage that comes with the old word. So that's what I've suggested what the guardians do for here. They used to say kennel, now we're saying igloo. When we do this, when I toss the treat in the kennel, let me see if I can be quiet and get her to hear it. I wish the camera was facing her because she came with a lot of pep in her step. So what I'm going to do is wait for her to touch it after she puts it in her mouth, and I'm going to say the word igloo right after it goes in her mouth. So if your dog is hesitant going in and out of the kennel, keep on doing this till the dog goes in the kennel, all four paws without any hesitation. Also, the size of the kennel matters. She's going to be a lot bigger than this. This is a little bit big for her now, but she's going to grow into it. Your dog should be able to stand up completely without having to bend their knee. They should also, these are things I wasn't planning on doing during the video. She hasn't been doing these things until now. So it should be able to stand up completely comfortably and should be able to lay down. Kennel or igloo. So if the dog goes in on its own, give it a treat after the fact. So now your first is to entice or reward entice the dog for going in there. Then it becomes to reward the dog for going in there. So the next step, what I do is once the dog is going in and out completely comfortable, I want to help the dog practice staying inside the kennel. Now, the problem with the kennel, like I mentioned earlier, is the two things it represents is the humans are leaving me and I'm restrained. So I'm going to take away both of those things for this kennel training. So I throw the treat in, make sure it doesn't pop out the back. When the dog comes in there, I silently come in here and block it. Kennel door is open. The dog is not going to be able to be allowed to leave until it LAYs. Now, I'm spelling it out because I don't want to do it on command, even though I don't think that's the command word for this dog. Now, she's not even aware, she's not even trying to get up, so she's not challenging yet. If you have to, you can put this behind you if you need to. I don't need to, I can just block it with my feet. It's harder when you have little dogs, actually, than with bigger dogs, because you can't get your feet close enough. So once she's stationary, I'm going to take a step backwards. Now, this usually causes the dog to think, oh, I can escape. So I say no by using the third consequence of marching towards her. Now, as soon as she SITs, I want to take a big step backwards simultaneously. When she SITs, she's saying I'm challenging you less to try to get out, so I want to make it put her closer to exiting. The only way I can do that is moving myself further away. But she can't leave without my invitation. I'm not going to give it to her until she LAYs. She doesn't know that, so I don't know how long this video will go. But the first time you do this, you have to win. Do not do it if you got to go somewhere in a half hour. The record for this is I had a boxer once that took an hour and 45 minutes before it went on. It's a little bit of boredom. So she's stationary, take a step backwards. Only step backwards when the dog's looking at it. I haven't had a dog do this in the kennel during this exercise, but that's all right. She's stationary, so I take another step backwards. Just 2 steps only. One. And I have to, don't move so far away that you can't get back and block her from exit. If she's able to escape, she'll just keep on trying to escape. So you really, really, really want to avoid that under all costs. She's stationary, take a step back. Oh, I read that one wrong. So now I take a step backwards because she sat down. And as soon as she LAYs, I'm going to take a knee and I'm going to give her the COME command, and she's going to be allowed to exit the kennel. But like I said, this is really important that you cannot let the dog outlast you. I talked off camera about always outlasting the dog. It's very important, otherwise you teach them to be defiant. So as soon as she LAYs, I'm going to take the knee and let her out. And so and with enough repetitions, she learns, as soon as I LAY and surrender, I get freedom. Come. Come. Now I would maybe say exit or come up with a command word for that. Now this is easy because we're not doing the things that are in conjunction with the guardians leaving. Usually the triggers, picking up my keys. The morning ritual we go through. I get up, I shave, shave, but chasing the cat. And you hear the cat, and then one of the guardians is going to interrupt that, which is exactly what they do. There we go. So, the dog is bored. It's dogs and cats. That's a whole different video. But for this one, I want to stick with this because it's going to be a little bit longer video. I want to keep it relatively short. So basically, what we want to do is after the dog has gone in, and I've done the exercise like I've done it. I want to kind of create a positive association again. Flora. So we want the dog happy to go back in the kennel, and this time she gets to come in and she gets to leave. Even though she's lingering, I'm not blocking her here. Now, a lot of times people like force the dog, shove the dog, and they trap the dog, and all those things will break the trust that you have between you and your dog. Your dog has to want to go in there voluntarily. And be careful when you do it so it doesn't come out like that. There we go. Igloo. And so next time, each time you do this, what you should see is just like that. It's faster and faster. Now, this is faster because we're not doing it in conjunction with hearing the keys being picked up. Picking up the guardians, picking up my sunglasses, the guardian putting on their work attire. We have morning rituals. All those individual things are what we call key triggers. And the dog recognizes, oh, when she sits there, puts on leather shoes, and then she grabs her purse. Come. Come. And he picks up the keys. These all things happen right before the human's about to leave me. So the dog will do this without being in concert with the other items. So the idea is, first you want to do this until the dog goes in there and just lays down almost immediately. Igloo. Make sure they go all the way in. Igloo. And so each time you do this, you want to practice it until the dog is, like I said, laying down right away. Once you get to that point, then what you're going to do is when the dog lays down, you're going to count to 5 seconds. Then take your knee and call the dog out. Next, and then both guardians do 5 seconds. Next time you do it 10 seconds, then 15, then I usually go 15, 30, 45 seconds. Then I get to 1 minute, and I go by 1 minute increments up to 20 minutes. Now 20 minutes is a long time to sit around watching your dog, but if we position this like maybe in front of the TV, we can sit on the couch, watch the dog in the kennel while we're basically watching TV. The idea is we want the dog to practice being calm. We want them to practice the behavior we want them to display later on. In this case, being calm in the kennel. Now the guardians are here and the door's open. So there's no reason for me to panic. And then by gradually increasing the length of time the dog has to stay in the kennel, it becomes more accustomed to it. And it's more relaxed and it's more normal. Now first you want to keep on doing this to the point where you get up to 20 minutes with the dog staying in there with the door open and you're several feet away. When you're first doing this, I said earlier, don't get too far away. Once you're at this point, you should be able to be several feet away from your dog and it stays in there until it gets the exit command or whatever the command word is. If you're going to use exit, when you call the dog out, when it takes the treat off your hand, just say the word exit each time. After a while, I can say exit and it knows that means I can leave the kennel. So once you get to this point, I got it to the point where I could actually come home from work, open the kennel, go to the completely other side of the house, leave the kennel door open, not say a word to the dog, change clothes, take a shower, start dinner, and then just yell, freedom, and the dog would run out. But it would only come out when it heard that command word. Okay, so the first stage is just getting the dog to the point where it lays down and then working your way up to 20 minutes. The second stage is once the dog lays in there, you're going to close the door. I'm not latching it. I'm just closing it. Now you see, now the dog suddenly, I've been accustomed or trained to fight the closing. I'm pawing at the closing. So what the dog do is practice, but I'm doing it without actually latching it because these extra sounds make it more real. So I want to wait until the dog lays down. And when it does, then I will open the door and let the dog out the first couple times. Until it starts laying down right away and not protesting, then I add 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and work my way back up to 20 minutes the same way that I did. Now each time you're doing this, they're going to repeat the same process multiple times, but each time you do it, it should be a little bit easier. So once we get to the point where the dog will lay down in here with the door closed for 20 minutes and you're several feet away, it's not trying to paw out there, the next step is to repeat the process, but this time you're latching it and then going out after 20 minutes. Exit, or whatever the word is. is. So if your word is come, you say come, and when they come to you, you give them a treat and you say exit. And then I immediately throw a treat in there. So otherwise, every time I go to the kennel, it represents igloo, that I'm going to be restrained in here. So half the time we do this, after each one successful, we toss a treat in, the dog goes and gets it, and is able to leave on their own steam. Now, if your dog is hesitant to go in there, keep on throwing treats until your dog goes in it again without any hesitation. Now, the third stage is you're actually latching it, and then you're working your way up to the 15 or 20 minutes, just like I described earlier. Now, once you get to the point where you're doing that, now we're ready to start making it more real world. Then what we would do is put the dog in here, and then we go upstairs. We go out of the room, out of the dog's line of sight. So now we're adding back in the two elements. The humans are not in the presence of the room, but they're still in the house. So they're still here, just not 100% here. And the door is closed. But I've been practicing being in here with the door closed, so I'm used to I spent at least 40 minutes in here, well, a lot more than that actually, with the door closed, completely relaxed, laying down. So now at this point, you might want to do things like I talked to the guardian about, taking like a a marrow bone, drilling a hole through the frozen marrow, and then zipping it to the back with a zip tie to the back of the kennel. And then we only do this when the door is open and the dog can go in there on its own, but then the dog goes in there, lays down, and tries to get the marrow out, because the only way I can get the marrow is it's stuck there. But the door's open, I can leave whenever I want. So again, we're creating another positive association with the kennel. Every time that you get a new bully stick, because I explained to the guardians how bad rawhides are for your dogs, because they're soaked in bleach, ammonia, and a lot of other chemicals. So maybe you have a new bully stick, this is where the dog discovers it. A new toy, I discover it in here. Also, when the dog's in the next room, quietly, just leave one in there. So the dog goes in there, man, every time I come in here, something good happens to me. There's a marrow bone, there's a bully stick, there's a treat, there's a new toy. If every time we go to a restaurant, we find a $100 bill in the lobby, we're gonna be eating there a lot. Igloo. So this is a great way to use positive reinforcement to help your dog feel good about going and want to go in the kennel. What you should notice when this is going on, the dog starts going in and hanging out in the kennel on their own. Now the marrow bone zipped in the back will help with that, but after a while they just get comfortable with it. Now I talked to the guardians about setting up a puppy playroom upstairs. If they do that and have this in there, put this along one of the walls. So this is one of the walls, and you could actually zip tie this to the actual kennel, the playpen walls. So it's always open. And get a furry deal so that it's a nice soft place for her to lay in. For her being a winter dog, she might like the plastic. But the idea is the dog just goes and hangs out in there on their own and practices doing so. And nothing bad happens. Igloo. All right, the last stage is actually, once you can do the point where, now when you're doing where you're going upstairs, what a lot of people do is, technology is great now. I have a lot of people that use like a security camera, that you can actually watch it on your iPad. So you go upstairs. If you can't do that, just get your iPhone, put it up here on a tripod facing here, and FaceTime your computer or your tablet. And then you get to go upstairs and you get to watch your dog. Now, if your dog is whimpering and whining in here, and you come and let the dog out while it's whimpering and whining, it thinks the whimpering and whining is the way of asking humans to get out. So never let your dog out while it's whimpering or whining. Even if it's just nonstop for hours, just wait for it to take a breath in between and then let it out. Now, the other things you can do, this is good problem solving. How can I get it without going in the kennel? Igloo. So again, creating positive associations. Now, the last thing we're going to do, this is not really kennel related. When you're going, using the technology, let me finish that thought. So again, you're going to wait until the dog lays down. As soon as the dog lays down, then you're going to come down the stairs or come into the room from outside your line of sight, open the door and let the dog out. As soon as it lays down. Then after it starts laying down consistently, then lay down plus 5 seconds, then we come in the room for both of you. Then 10 seconds, then 15, then the same increments, 15, 30, 45, 1 minute, all the way up to 20 minutes. Now, some dogs, I just go to 20 minutes for the demonstration purpose or just giving initial instructions. But for dogs, there's actually a limit. Once they get to 2 hours, they'll be able to go beyond that. Now, another little tip for the kennel, dogs will get stressed out if they're left in the kennel for longer than 5 hours at a stretch. Most of us work longer than 5-hour days. So that's why setting up a puppy playroom is so helpful, because it's in the kennel or in the playroom. They can move around and do some things. Okay, so the next stage is actually not related to the kennel, but this is for dogs that have separation anxiety, is actually picking up your keys. And you pick up your keys, that usually triggers that you're about to leave, and that kind of sends the dog into an anxiety attack. So what you do is go over, pick up your keys, put them right back down. Wait for the dog to settle down. When it settles, pick it up. It'll get excited, put them back down. Do that over and over. Now, the keys no longer represent the humans are leaving. Sometimes they pick them up and put them right back down and they don't leave. So you want to go through that with all the other triggers. You should notice as you're getting ready to leave your house, your dog's starting to get more and more worked up. Usually there's things that cause that to happen. The dog sees you sit in a certain spot, put on your shoes. You put on a suit maybe that you normally don't. You get up and you take a shower. You make coffee or make breakfast at a certain time. After a while, the dog recognizes these. But the nice thing is you saw, again, went in here, I didn't even have to offer a treat that time, went in and hang out and laying down, practicing being in the kennel calmly. Now, once you desensitize the dog for all the individual triggers, then they don't start getting worked up when you're doing all these things. And that combined with helping the dog practice being in the kennel eliminates a lot of these things. She was actually so freaked out, she was urinating, defecating in the kennel, and it was a big mess when her guardians came home. That's obviously, it's not intentional if your dog does that. It's a loss of control of its body, of its capabilities. So we don't want to punish or get mad at a dog when he does that because it's not intentional. Am I forgetting anything? Right now, you saw she was breathing a little bit heavy. When she's in there until she gets comfortable, you'll see her breathing heavy. That's a sign of stress, or licking the lips. Yawning could also be associated, well, it's not a sign of stress. But those are all things that tell us the dog is still not completely comfortable. By the time you're actually done with this, you should have the dog go in here, like she is now, no breathing. She goes in there comfortably on her own accord. She's hanging out in there at different times on her own. She's laying down, has no problems with it. Now, when you actually start leaving the house, while you're doing this, the best thing you can do is take your dog to daycare during the day. I know it's what people don't want to do. They want to take their dog. We don't want the hassle of drop off or whatever it is. She's a female, so male dogs are a problem. Once they turn 6 months, you can't take the dog to daycare. Doggy daycare is great because it helps them give them socialization experience, but also they're awake the whole time. So when they come home, this is the dog you'll have, a nice asleep dog. But we don't want to put the dog in here and make it a negative while we're trying to erase the negative connotations. It will slow down the process tremendously. If you can just take a month to really work the heck out of this, take it to doggy daycare I know it's a cost, but if you do that, now this only represents positive, and then also puts the dog in a position to succeed. Don't practice this when your dog's all worked up. Your dog should make sure you take a walk, or you've done things to deplete your dog's energy. I call it putting the dog in a position to succeed. This way otherwise the dog's, I'm a puppy, I'm full of energy, and you haven't depleted it, I have a lot of energy to fight you with. Deplete the energy on a walk and playing fetch or what the other things are doggy daycare. When you come home, you're practicing this, you'll notice the dog starts going and gravitating and hanging out in the kennel on their own. All right, well, this is how you can use positive reinforcement to stop a dog from fearing the kennel.